This doesn't have to end in a fight, Tony.
You just started a war. Stay down. Final warning.
I could do this all day.
Sorry.
No, I don't think you're that sorry. Wasn't really feeling it there, bro.
No, I was just thinking. I apologize.
Fair enough. What is up there, interwebs? Big Lou here, coming at you with Matt the Cut Man.
It's been a while.
What's that?
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been
a few days.
Yeah, a day or so. So, anyway, in that time, we have gone to see Captain America Civil War.
Oh, boy.
And we've both seen it a couple of times now, so we have very in-depth knowledge with which to present to you in a very professional and timely, professional manner. So,
You can't say professional twice in one sentence.
It's not professional?
It's not professional at all.
There you go. What are you going to do?
God damn it. You fucked it up already.
Hey, that's what editing's for. Anyway, the way this works, we're going to talk about things we liked about the movie, things we didn't like so much about the movie, and then give our overall impressions. If you've never seen a movie review on the internet before, that is a new process for you. However, that's the way it goes. So, starting out with...
Also, if you haven't seen this movie, stop what you're doing and go see it.
Yeah, we are going to be talking spoilers. So you have been warned. So
yeah.
All ado aside, Matthew, what were your thoughts? Positive things. What did you like about Captain America Civil War?
God damn near everything.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, man. Okay, I think this is either tied with or it is my favorite Marvel movie.
It's right on up there for me as well.
Oh man, it was so good. It was so good as a Marvel movie. It was even better just as a storytelling device.
Yes.
Having seen it a few times, there were so many interwoven plot lines. There were many interwoven themes that you don't pick up on the first time that you definitely should pick up on at least the second.
Yeah.
And I probably want to see it at least a third time.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Because it was very intricate.
Yeah.
And you go in to see a superhero movie and you expect big explosions,
yep,
big special effects, big everything. You don't expect the
emotional journey that this movie took us on.
The journey. There was a journey.
It absolutely was. This movie.
There were many journeys.
This movie to me is the culmination of a journey that started in a cave in Afghanistan 8 years ago.
Absolutely.
Robert Downey Jr.'s performance of Tony Stark in this movie, it just goes to show you, number one, how talented he is, but number two, how deeply he cares about this character and where this character has been and where it's going. Because if you look at, and it started out as one of my negatives, that this Tony Stark didn't feel like the Tony Stark we've known all along. But then I started to think about it and I was like, well, that makes sense because he's not the same Tony Stark. No. The shit that man has gone through over the course of these past several movies is enough to make anybody just how he was in this movie.
No, it would be untrue to the character as a human to not grow from the narcissistic Tony Stark in a cave to what we know now.
Yeah.
One of the things that really struck me about this movie was the father-son themes.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that to me the other day.
Yeah, I took the time to write a few of them down. It was really a story about fathers and sons, or parents and children.
Sure.
If you want to paint it with a broad brush, you've got the relationship between Tony and his parents, really between Tony and his dad.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's the CGI shot of him as a youth trying to put to rest.
Which tripped me out, by the way.
I want to know how they did that, one.
I'll get into that in a few, but yeah.
But him trying to emotionally settle, him not having said what he should have said to his parents before they died. Of course, he didn't know that they were going to die.
Yeah.
So there's that storyline, and then there's Tony being a father-like figure to Peter Parker, and being a father-like.
That scene was my favorite scene in the movie.
So good.
It was. Yeah, we'll get to that.
So good when he goes into the bed, into the room, and he's like, move your leg because I want to sit there.
I'm going to sit there. Yeah. He puts his hand on his shoulder, and he's just like, and he's sitting there, and he's showing him the footage, and he goes, "Tell me why you do what you do."
Yeah.
Prove to me, sell me on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
it becomes a father-son type of mentor-mentee relationship. And then, of course, you've got, Clint being brought back from, the story of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
After Ultron, he retired. He wanted to, be a family man. He wanted to live with the happily ever after with his wife and kids. But he was brought back into service to the detriment of his kids.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the overarching Zemo character, Zemo did everything that he did because he lost his kids. This entire movie was a story about fathers and sons. Really, it was about parents and children.
You missed the most important one to me.
Go for it.
T'Challa and Black Panther.
T'Challa and his father, of course.
I mean, T'Challa was the father, or T'Chaka is the father,
right.
and T'Challa was the son. But yeah, the introduction of Black Panther in this movie, to me there are certain things in movies as far as comic books that are just meant to be. Chadwick Boseman playing this character was meant to be. Crushed it. Absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Every time he was on screen, you can't take your eyes off him.
No, you can't.
He was amazing.
Incredible, commanding screen presence. When you can upstage Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and not have that many lines of dialogue, dude's intense, but in such a good character. Yeah. Loved his introduction. I can't wait to see the Black Panther movie. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, completely.
So, I mean, another one of my biggest positives was the introduction of the two new characters. Obviously, we just talked about Black Panther and Spider-Man. To me, there are a lot of people online that are calling Tom Holland's Spider-Man the best Spider-Man we've seen on screen yet. I would tend to agree with that, but we haven't seen him lead a movie yet, so I don't want to rush to make that statement until we've seen a standalone Spider-Man. But based on this little sample that I've seen, I am over the moon excited to see what this kid can do.
Hopefully we don't have to suffer through a origin story.
I think they're going to do the origin. If they even touch on it at all, they'll do it like they did it with the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk or with Batman v Superman, and just have that be playing over the opening credits and just kind of like a flashback or something like that. Because
we've had to suffer through it at least twice.
I absolutely agree. We don't need to see the origin of Spider-Man anymore. And I don't think we will, simply because we've already seen him in action.
Yeah.
And he even said when what happened, oh, it's a long story.
Yeah.
I hope that was not alluding to the fact we're going to get the full origin in the Spider-Man movie.
Now, speaking of origin stories.
Yes.
There have been multiple calls after every major Avenger-esque movie for a Black Widow story.
Yes.
A standalone film. Kevin Feige has finally come down and said he is emotionally committed to...
Yeah, I don't know what the hell
I don't
that
know what
meant.
the fuck that means, but hopefully it means they'll actually put a Black Widow story out there.
If it's the Black Widow we saw in Winter Soldier and the Black Widow we saw in this movie, I'm perfectly okay with that. Mm-hmm. If it's the Black Widow that we saw in Age of Ultron, you can keep your Black Widow movie, because I hated her in that movie.
Really?
Yeah. I thought she was a whiny little bitch in that movie.
I wasn't sure what your problem was there, but...
Well, I just... It just didn't seem like she was true to what the badassedness that character is. I think she was playing up the I want to be with Banner thing a little too much for my liking.
Well, I think it showed a bit of her humanity, but I mean, point taken.
Yeah. Anyway, I loved her in this movie. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, no, she was great in this movie. I liked how she was. I wouldn't say double agenty, but
you could tell she was totally on the fence.
Yeah, she wasn't about to come down on one side or the other because she has loyalties to both of these people.
Mm-hmm. And she, like the audience, this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought, and then I'll retort.
Oh no, I was just going to say she. I like when she went to London to the funeral with Steve, and she's like, I didn't want you to be alone.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you knew where she had come down, but she still cared for Steve.
I got to be perfectly honest with you. When Peggy died, when Agent Carter died, it kind of got me a little bit. I was like, oh, it's Peggy.
Yeah,
and
I think that was because of the emotion on Chris Evans' face.
Well, that too, but also because I've got such attached to that character through the Agent Carter TV show.
Sure.
So, and this season of Agent Carter had its flaws. I'll definitely give you that, but I love watching Haley Atwell in this character, and the fact that we're not going to see her again is kind of a bummer to me. But so yeah, going back to the Black Widow thing, the biggest thing that I think this movie did so well was it made it seem like the audience really had to choose.
Yeah.
And really made it difficult
Yeah.
to choose because it did such a good job of relaying both sides of the argument.
It reminded me, and this is going to sound strange, it reminded you a little bit of The Social Network.
Okay.
In that it spilled out into the parking lot. You weren't really sure who was the good guy, who was the bad guy. There really weren't defined good guys and bad guys. There were sides, and each side believed in what they were doing, and each side believed that what they were doing was right. So you have to. I guess it really depends on what you define as being moral.
I went into this movie being very on the fence, but more team Tony, just because.
Sure.
Iron Man started it all. The first Iron Man is still one of my in my top 5 of favorite Marvel movies. So I went in leaning towards Team Iron Man. But I got to be perfectly honest with you. By the end of this movie, I was Team Cap all the way. I was very much, not that I was against Tony, but I loved that Cap was taking the time to figure out what actually happened. And that to me pushed me more to his side, more so than the, oh, hey, we got to put ourselves in check. I can understand Tony's side completely, but I was more on Team Cap towards the end of this movie.
Yeah, I definitely went in Team Iron Man. Still kind of went out Team Iron Man.
Yeah.
Definitely like, okay, well, they fucked it up. You're going to have someone better on oversight. You're going to have to work out the details on the committee on who to send and where.
I loved the line when Tony's trying to talk to William Hurt and says, "Give me 72 hours and I'll bring him in." It's like, what makes you think it's going to be different this time? And Tony's response is, because this time I'm not going to be wearing $1,000 loafers and a button down.
Yeah,
it's like that was a great line.
It was a silk shirt and loafers, but that's neither
whatever.
Yeah, because first of all, he was wearing a very fine Tom Ford 3-piece 2-button. If anyone's curious, that's a very expensive suit.
Naturally. Not quite as expensive as the other one, but...
I don't know. Have you been to Nordstrom?
No, I can't. They don't really carry stuff in my size.
Yeah, because that. God damn it, that's expensive stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really became it wasn't clear cut on okay, this is the good side and this is the bad side. Both sides definitely believed they were right.
Yes.
And
you can definitely identify with both sides.
Yeah, and in a sense they both were right and they both were wrong. They both had flaws in their arguments. It was a movie. There are very few times that a Marvel, well, I won't say Marvel, but a comic book movie will really make you think.
Yeah.
This one really made you think.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you could go into it and just watch it for the big explosions and the special effects and everything, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not really considering the finite points.
Yeah.
So,
another thing that I really, really liked about it was the balance that this movie had. Not only between the humor and the tone. I think that the balance they had between the seriousness of what they were talking about mixed in with the little one-liners was a great, great balance. But also the balance of the cast. Every person on this cast had their moment in the sun, if you will. You know?
Sure they did.
You know, I mean, you've got Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch, who she's incredible. I think she did a fantastic job with this.
Yeah.
Her and the Vision had some great moments together.
Completely stole every scene they were in.
Doing a little foreshadowing of what happens to them in the comics. I mean, if you are a fan of the comics, you know it eventually happens to them. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, his amygdala is synthetic, so...
Wonder what else is synthetic.
I know, right?
I apologize.
No, you really don't. But also, the Ant-Man had his couple of little moments, and...
Here you go, Captain America.
I believe this is yours, Captain America.
And Paul Rudd.
He's so perfect casting for that
perfect.
role. And then you've got, Bucky has all his moments, and even Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye has his moments, and it's...
Yeah.
And obviously we've already talked about Spidey and Black Panther. I mean, this to me was the most accurate depiction of Spider-Man that we've seen, with the, hitting Falcon in the face. You have the right to remain silent. Because he's a teenager.
Oh man, I think it might be my favorite line in the movie is when when Falcon commands the drone to take out Spidey, and what's his face like? Couldn't you have done that sooner? And Falcon goes, "I hate you." Someone saying "I hate you,"
while they're webbed up next to each other on the floor.
No, just someone saying "I hate you" is one of my favorite things. Just deadpan, "I hate you."
That's very West Wing of us, because you and I both do that. Especially the one that you and I do a lot is, "There's literally nobody I don't hate right now."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But the other really funny moment that the two of them had was when Cap kissed Agent 13, and he looks over and they're just in the front of the VW and they're just going,
yeah. Or when he's like, "Can you move your seat up?"
No. So yeah, they definitely had some great moments together. But again, the humor didn't overshadow the tone and the seriousness of this movie. It just added to the flavor of it, if you will.
Sure, and it endeared you more towards all of the characters.
Oh, for sure.
On all sides. And it was... I don't mean to get off on a tangent here.
Tangent away.
But it just went to show you how a superhero versus superhero movie can be done correctly.
Yes. Zack Snyder, we're talking to you.
Yeah, we're singling you out. I'm looking at you, Zack Snyder. And DC in general.
Speaking of which, I just read that they named Ben Affleck as executive producer of Justice League.
Good.
Yes. That's correct.
Good.
Excellent. Or that was more Smithery or more Mr. Burns-ish than Emperor-ish.
Yeah, no, that was Burns.
Good. There we go.
Excellent.
That's more Emperor-ish. So anyway, we can sit here and talk about this movie, the stuff that we liked all night long, but no movie is perfect. There are some things with this movie that you and I both have some flaws with.
Okay, yeah, there is.
Would you like to go first?
All right, being the nerd that I am,
Naturally.
I really wish they would get consistent with Iron Man's armor.
Yeah.
I really wish... Okay, can you fly through one of those alien destroyers and blow it up from the inside and come out the other side completely unscathed? Or can Captain America hit you with his shield and your fucking thrusters break?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come down on one side or the other on what Iron Man's armor. Here's the thing. It seems like in the Avengers movies, whether it's Avengers or Age of Ultron, Iron Man is damn near indestructible.
Yes.
In the standalone movies and the Iron Man movies and him and Captain America, his armor is much more vulnerable.
I absolutely agree with that. It was better in this one than it was in Iron Man 3. Because in Iron Man 3, you sneezed and his suit fell apart.
Yeah.
But that kind of went to the story. But that's... I digress.
To digress just a little bit more, Iron Man 3 seemed like a standalone movie that happened to have Iron Man in it. But we can leave that alone.
That's a conversation for another time.
Sure.
But no, I definitely agree with you. But the thing about Iron Man's suit to me that was the negative on this one was some of the CGI on it. In every scene where he had his helmet down, it looked like they had superimposed the armor over him.
Yeah, no, I was definitely looking for the seam, so to speak.
You could. It was very blatant, as opposed to in Avengers when he had his helmet off, he was wearing the suit, as opposed to in this one where you could tell when he had the helmet up, it worked totally fine. It was perfect. It looked great.
Yeah.
Anytime he was in the armor and the helmet was off, you could totally tell that it looked CGI. Not that it was bad, but you noticed it. And
it drew me out just a little bit, if for no other reason that I was looking for the seam.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it had to do with his helmet coming all the way down into the suit as opposed to just pop it up.
Yeah, no, so a little bit of issues there. Again, we're nitpicking here, but I think the elephant in the room has got to be the villain. Marvel does such a fantastic job of giving us mediocre villains. Because other than Loki, I can't think of a villain in a Marvel movie that I'm just like, that was a damn good villain. Maybe Red Skull.
Maybe Obadiah?
I liked his performance, but why was he trying to kill him? It didn't make any sense.
No, that's true.
You know,
that's true. I just love Jeff Bridges.
Oh, no, me too. Yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, not taking anything away from his performance, but a lot of what the villain was actually doing didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
And this one is no exception. The villain of this movie should have been Crossbones. It should have been Crossbones pulling all those strings to get his revenge on them for dropping a building on his face. Instead of just having Crossbones be the throwaway villain at the beginning of the movie.
Well, I think for certain we have not seen the last of Zemo.
I hope not.
And
because he's such a great villain in the comics.
And I think that he was definitely underplayed here. I think that his hand will definitely be redealt later. I hope so. To a much more satisfactory degree.
Yeah.
And we'll see, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I think this was just foreshadowing.
Yeah. One of the other negative things about the villain is that I didn't buy that he would have the resources to be able to pull off what he did on such a global scale.
Sure.
I mean, essentially, he was a hitman for a blip on a map country in the middle of a war-torn portion of Europe.
Yeah.
How the hell would he have been able to afford to have the resources to do?
It'd be like if he was, a part of Bosnian special forces. Okay, well, you're probably good at, being a sniper. But
I just
all the rest.
It was the suspension of disbelief for that character was stretched a little too thin for me.
But again, I think they'll hopefully dive further into that and explain that.
I really, really hope so.
And I would be down for that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely would be. So, but other than those couple of little nitpicky things, very, very few negative things to say about this movie.
It was amazing.
Yeah. This is my number 2 favorite Marvel film. I think that Avengers is my number 1. Mm-hmm. I think that Winter Soldier had a little bit of a better story, but I had more fun in this movie. I think the action sequences, the fight sequences, and the humor and the tone and the interactions between the characters, I just think it was a little bit more full movie as opposed to Winter Soldier.
I loved that there were so many different themes to it.
Yeah.
And I loved obviously the action and everything that goes without saying, but this to me seemed like the most complete movie that Marvel has put out.
I'll go along with that.
So I agree with you that moment in the Avengers when they all come together is orgasmic.
It really is. To me, it was the culmination of... Because my favorite moment, single moment in any Marvel film is the post-credit scene of the first Iron Man. When Fury's standing there and he says, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. He says... You've just entered a larger world. You just don't know it yet. He's not talking to Tony. He's talking to us.
Yeah.
And that's Kevin Feige saying, you'll just wait.
Yeah.
You have no idea
We've
what's
got some
in store.
things up our sleeves.
And when he says, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative, I lost my shit sitting there in the theater when I saw that for the first time.
That was messy, too.
Yeah.
I was there.
It was not a pleasant sight. So, but the other thing, post-credits... Do you think we're going to see Bucky again?
Yes.
When?
When Steve Rogers dies.
You think they're going to kill Steve?
I do.
When do you think they're going to kill Steve?
The end of the first Infinity Wars.
You think so?
I do. I think he's going to go at the end of the first Infinity Wars, and Bucky's going to be called in. I think they're going to outfit him with a new
arm,
vibranium arm.
That could be cool. I don't think his original arm was vibranium.
It was not.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Iron Man's repulsors would have just bounced off it.
Yeah. So, well, you heard it here first, folks. I love the post-credit scene with Spider-Man, though.
Yeah.
When he's like...
Aunt
May's like, who punched you in the eye? That's some guy named Steve from Brooklyn. You don't know him.
Can I just say, Aunt May, Marissa Tomei,
love her.
If you're not free, if you're free on Saturday night, dinner, my place. I'm just saying.
He makes a hell of a queso fresco wrap.
I'll make a hell of whatever you want.
There you go. So, well, no review by us would be complete unless we give it a score out of 10. So, what do you give this on a scale of 1 to 10, sir?
This is like a 9.99995.
Not quite as high for me. It's a 9.5 for me, for sure. Just because it was so good.
Yeah.
I'm very much... This was my most anticipated movie of the year, and it did not disappoint at all. So, well, there you have it. Those are our thoughts on Captain America Civil War. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you have any questions for us that you'd like our thoughts and opinions on,
we'll answer.
We will. Tweet to us, just at the InterWebs Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share this video amongst your friends, and all that good gobbledygook.
Or feel free to come over and knock on Lou's door anytime.
Anytime.
His address, I believe, is...